It doesn't matter what's happening. I don't care what's happening. I don't care what you on, this person's on. This is what I like. You
ever gotta watch?
My life is tailor-made for me.
If I was gonna be successful, I had to be successful with myself. I couldn't be successful doing what other people were doing. I had to do what I believed in.
I like to advance every year, to advance myself, spiritually, mentally, everything. I like to advance myself. I have more fear going back than losing money. I love what I do, and then when you love what you do, you want to be the best at it. You know, you don't make music to be second best. You make music to be the best. So whatever you do, I don't have to do music. You're not sitting here trying to, be second to Pierce Morgan or one of those. Zane Lowe. You don't want to be you don't want to be second to Zane Lowe. You're looking at Zane Lowe like, are you kidding me? In a good way. I mean, in a good way. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I do this. Like, I've been doing this a long time. So sometimes you have to throw your stats out there to remind people your last ain't better than my first. It's a true statement to me. Like, there's a lot of people last ain't. I mean, it's hard to beat. You know what I'm saying? And you just have to put your stats out there to remind people, like, yo, this is, I'm the real deal.
The worst thing to be is as successful as someone else. That's a very difficult thing to upkeep, and it's very tiring. I feel sorry for someone who has to walk out the house every day as someone else to make this art and to make something that people connect to. And whatever you've made is not you, and you're not happy about it, but it's successful. Just to maintain that level of success, it has to be very draining and, a very sad existence, because at some point you have to go home. And when you go home, all the lights are off and everything's off, and you have to look in the mirror and you have to look at yourself and say, man, I like who I am, or I'm not very happy with who I am. By my third album, I had the combination of failing with those pop records and the true and real music that I wanted to make, and I blended those two together, and I made a song called Hard Knock Life. And that album was when I knew that I can do it.
No one cares whether you live or die, and that's where that mentality goes at. I'ma get it or I'ma die trying. If I don't try, what am I doing? What kind of life am I saving?
Like, these things is wicked in these mean streets. None of my friends speak. We all trying to win. We all trying to win, and a lot of times we bumping heads because we all trying to get out. That's like the crabs in the barrel mentality, that we have, because everyone's trying to survive. And we trying to survive at any cost. You have to look at that. You got to look at the environments and places we live in, and how things are set up, and how things are structured, and how we're always the last on the totem pole, even from our schooling to our roads to, everything that all the obstacles that's placed in front of us, even our living conditions. And broke is a great motivator. To have 26 floors, and there's a ton of them, right? These low-income houses, and everything is messed up there. So that's like living dormant. If this is what I have to live for, then I'm gonna take the chance to get more. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens to me.
These people feel like people consume music too fast, because you create these amazing moments, but then the moment is fleeting. As soon as you put the album out, it's like people are on it for a few days, then J. Cole came out, Wale comes out the next week. Wale's out, now Hove's out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just, again, the time that we in, right? We have to figure out, it's up to the individual to figure out how to slow it down, because, it's just going faster and faster. Everything is moving, quicker. Information is going quicker. It's, again, like you said, these great things are fleeting. They're going faster and faster, and it's up to the individual to slow it down and be like, okay, I'm living with this album. This is what I choose to ride to. This is gonna be the soundtrack to my life for these next couple months. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's an individual thing. I'm not gonna let anybody speed up my process. I don't care what's happening out there. That's the great thing about, having ultimate confidence in yourself, is it doesn't matter what's happening. I don't care what's happening. I don't care what you on, this person's on. This is what I like.
You ever gotta watch?
My life is tailor-made for me.
I've learned more from failures than success. And it can be paralyzing, this failure and the fear of it. My first album I made was an album called Reasonable Doubt, which in the small circles was considered the album, like a classic album, like the album for that generation in the voice of, you know, people that were going through similar situations. But it didn't sell massive numbers worldwide, right? It was still very niche. Then my second album, because of, you know, Reasonable Doubt and its lack of commercial success, you know, I tried to make these records that were bigger and will be more popular, which was a failure. Going for that success really messed up that project and, you know, set a bad tone. It was a huge learning lesson for me that if I was going to be successful, I had to be successful with myself. I couldn't be successful doing what other people were doing. I had to do what I believed in and what felt real to me and felt true to me.
I started, in my beginning, you know, I just lived such a rich life, you know, a full life. You know that, you know, my first album came out, I was 26, and I had seen so many things in the street, so my attitude was like, man, you know, I've seen so much, and, you know, I don't have anything to prove. I know who I am. I'm a very self-aware person, you know, so when you're self-aware, even when you're dealing with someone's ego, you know when to allow it to, you allow their ego to live in someone's space. You know, the problem is when you engage that energy, that's when there's a problem. If you engage the ego with your ego, then it's like, okay, now something has to happen. It can keep escalating to a level that can be irreversible, you know. But if you don't engage the ego, if you know how to manipulate or play around with the ego, or
that's
that
weird in
energy,
itself to people.
and you give light back to darkness,
right?
It's very difficult. I have more fear of going back to, you know, I like to advance every year, to advance myself, you know, spiritually, mentally, everything. I like to advance myself. I have more fear going back than losing money, you know, because like I said, when I lost money. I've been broke, I've been rich, I've saved and blown bread. It's a lyric, you know.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
But it's real. You know, money is just a byproduct, and that sounds really cliche, but it's true, of doing a great job. As it started approaching, you know, I got on this side of the year and started to approach in September, I thought it was only right to bring it full circle, being that the first one came out on the 11th.
Yeah.
And this being the end of the trilogy, to put it out on the 11th, and this way we could recognize what happened that day, because the first time, of course, it wasn't planned.
Right.
You know.
But the thing about Blueprint 1 is people hold that album like sacred to their heart. Like that's a lot of people's favorite album. It's like a classic.
My favorite J album. It's my favorite J album.
Your favorite J album ever.
And I'm like the underground, you know, backpack nerd dude. And I think Reasonable Doubt, but then Blueprint actually probably eclipsed it as my favorite J album, yeah.
So then when you put out Blueprint 3, people are obviously going to compare it to the first one. Why didn't you just put out another album? Why did it have to be Blueprint 3?
I'm used to that type of pressure. I put out Reasonable Doubt. You know, that was supposed to be the classic, you know.
Yeah, but you never did a Reasonable Doubt 2.
Hold on for a second.
All back, side film.
That's why I don't get up at 6:30, man. You guys cut you off and everything.
I'm listening.
Volume 1, right? Then Volume 2, then Volume 3. That was another trilogy. So I wanted the Blueprint series to be a trilogy because of what it represented. The first Blueprint was, you know, those soul samples that I grew up on. It was my blueprint. Then the Blueprint 2 was me searching for all the different type of music, you know, that I like. But I ain't have a reason to do the third one. So I didn't do it for a while. I held it off. I did the Black album after that and then all those other albums. But, you know, it just was fitting right now where I am in my career for, you know, me to set the blueprint for my next journey. Rap and music is really a microcosm of life. You know, my music is based on life and the things I've experienced. Like I made a song called Give It To Me, which was inspired totally by a party that I went to by Mary J. Blige. When she hears that song, she knows exactly, because she was there, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it's pretty much inspired by life. So anything is an inspiration. A lot of times you're flying at 50,000 feet. You need someone to always keep you grounded. I have great friends around me who, you know, I don't shun their advice. You know, I encourage their advice, which I think is very important. You can live in your own alternative
alternative universe with how people treat celebrity these days. But you know, as long as you keep good friends around you, and also not putting yourself in a box and becoming a prisoner of your fame. A lot of people, once they become famous, they stop doing things that they did. They don't go to the store. You become a prisoner of your fame, and I've always been aware and cognizant of that, not to let that allow that to happen. Little boy.